for your fourth summer camp here.
Okay.
Starts tomorrow. Maybe just some quick talks, and then we'll have some questions.
Sure. So it's we're going into year 4, and I think we've made a lot of progress, but we believe that there's a lot of progress still to be made, and we're looking forward to integrating some of the new additions, both on the coaching staff and on the player side, and trying to reach our potential. And we had a good meeting this morning about what our objectives are, what our goals are, how we're going to attain those. And I think that this is, I'm like a broken record with a lot of you people that have been here before. It's a unique group of young men that we get to coach. The lack of entitlement, the commitment that they made in the offseason was pretty rare. When I wasn't here, I got reports from our strength and conditioning coordinator, Tyson Brown, and he sent me a text one day and he said, God, we just had, they call it PRP, player run practices, and he happened to walk by it and he said it was one of the most intense player run practices I've ever seen in my career coaching, and he's been at some pretty good stops. So, if we can maintain that type of attitude and learn how to handle the success that we'll have and the setbacks that we'll have, stay together as a team, I think we have a chance to be very competitive. So it's an exciting time, but there's a lot of hard work in front of us, and fortunately feel like we got a crew that's ready to tackle the challenge.
How much does last year's success drive what happened this offseason? Because when you're hungry and you taste it, you probably want more.
I think that it helped us in recruiting, certainly in the portal. We were able to get people to pay attention to us that maybe wouldn't have in the past. At least get in the fight with them and win some of those battles. It gives you a little momentum, but momentum's fleeting. So we won't spend any time thinking about last year at all. Eyes are forward all the time, and we'll try to build on what we've accomplished and take steps forward, but it won't be a rallying cry or anything like that. But I will tell you this, it did help us become more attractive to prospective players, and that was for us internally going forward, that was one of the most positive things. Externally, hopefully it builds some excitement, and hopefully we can build more trust amongst our fan base. I felt like that first year we did, and then we let it go the second year, and hopefully we built it back. Now we have to continue to build that trust so that people believe in what we're doing, and they want to come out and support us, and they want to spend their Saturdays at the Rent, and that's on us to do.
Is it exciting to have so many skilled players coming back with some talent?
Yeah, it's a different looking team. I think the skill positions, if you want to start at quarterback, I think there's 4 players there that are all really good football players, kind of at different points in their career, but all really talented football players. I look at the running back room, and it's a good-looking room. You look at the receiver room, it's a good-looking room. There's some depth, as well as some talent, so some talented depth. You look at the tight end room, and it's big, physical, fast, guys that can catch and block. And defensively, Coach Hilliard and I were talking about today in the secondary is, there's a lot more depth than we've had in the past. So I think there's a couple things. Number one, you're able to, when you have some success, like I said, draw more attention, get better players, but it's also a testament to the way they've been coached and the way they've especially taken the coaching, on the field and then in the weight room, the strength and conditioning stuff. So we're a better looking team than we've ever been since I've been here.
Jim, I know that the goalpost is always moving around on these things now, but what was the process? How did it play out for Joe to get a 7th year and come back again?
I don't even have a clue. All right, and I'm not going to question it. Somebody told me I think it was right before the bowl game, and somebody said, Joe has another year. And I was like, okay, great. I didn't want to know what it was because I didn't want to jinx it. And so, I think with the COVID situation that happened a few years back, there was just a lot more fluidity and eligibility requirements. And I doubt he'll get an 8th, but we'll take his 7th, that's for sure.
So, for somebody like him, it's an opportunity to make some money playing football that he's probably not going to have when he's done here. So it's very much worth his while to come back and play a 7th year. It's a chance for him to make some money now and put himself in a position where he can make some money after here. I would not write Joe off as a guy that will finish his career at UConn. I think that Joe is pretty special. I think there's some real qualities, and certainly, he's going to be a mature player when he gets done playing here. And I think that he has a lot of value, not just at this level, but at the next level, whether it's the NFL or the USFL or Canada. I think he can continue to play. So I hope that you're right, that he has a great year earning money here, and I hope that he has a chance to go earn money somewhere else.
When you lose so many guys on the front 7 defensively, is it easier, maybe not easier, but to get guys out of the portal saying, we have spots open that you can compete for?
Yeah, players in the portal a lot of times are looking for opportunity. And whether that's someone coming from a Power 4 conference team that wants more reps, or it's a guy that's coming from a smaller school that wants more exposure and maybe a higher level of competition, when you have opportunities that are present and they see them, it does make it easier to convince them to come to UConn. And there's a lot of things that convince them to come here. Kind of building up and trying to become successful. Obviously, our facilities, and look at the fields, they look great. The academics here, the environment of this campus, this city. There's a lot of things that are going for us right now. But opportunity is the thing that seems to drive most of the decisions that the players make when they come here.
How would you describe what it's like to recruit in 2025? Everything you have to consider from NIL to portal to rev share.
It's chaos. Yeah, it's chaotic, but it's also fun. It's invigorating. It's challenging. It takes a lot of work, a lot of time. You have to stay on it. I think high school recruiting hasn't changed a lot, although you might recruit fewer players. And it's a longer process. You're developing relationships with these young men and their families. I think at portal is more like speed dating, along with, how much can we pay you and what are your opportunities. So, in the portal, you have to learn about someone's character and their motivations very, very quickly. And we've been able to do that, and I think be pretty successful, because the portal can be dangerous. You don't necessarily know what you're getting, because you don't have that chance to develop a relationship like you do with a high school player. And when you're trying to develop an environment or a culture or an attitude or a system, you got to make sure that you're bringing the right people in and keeping the right people out, and that can be challenging in the portal. But I think that from all indications, at least the last 2 years, we've done a pretty good job of that, from the personality standpoint, the character standpoint, and how they fit in the systems that we run.
I don't know exactly how many new players you have.
I don't either. I haven't counted. It's it's so fluid.
Well, like every team, it's a lot.
It's a lot,
obviously.
yeah.
Did you have a general idea for how many players you'd be bringing into the program coming off of last year, and does that fluctuate as you have? There's a lot of movement in and out.
It fluctuates daily,
yeah,
because you're not always sure who's going to enter the portal from your team that you're going to need to replace. They don't necessarily tell you. Some guys will tell you early. Some guys wait till the end. Some guys are kind of back and forth. You've seen that we've had some guys that have gone in the portal and then come back. I think I've tried to be really flexible with the players on our team. If they want to, go into the portal for a legitimate reason and maybe extend what their value is or get closer to home or things like that, and they're guys that we value, then we're going to try to recruit them back to our program. But yeah, it's very, very fluid. I guess you'd probably say it's pretty locked in right now. And so we're excited about the team that we've been able to put together, and really excited about the work that they've done in the off season. It's been different.
A guy like Skylar haven't been back. I'm sure a lot of people are fishing in
Oh,
his
yeah.
pond trying to hook him. But what does it say for him to come back, about your program and about the loyalty he displayed to come back here?
It says, I think, a lot about our program, and it says even more about him and what motivates him. He understands that he has a chance to be part of something special, kind of building a program back. I think that the loyalty he's shown to the school and to his teammates it speaks volumes, because he is a prominent player. Remember during the bowl practices, he missed a couple practices because he had a chance to go to Michigan, and they offered him a lot of money, and he decided to stay here. I don't know that this number is exactly accurate, but it's pretty close. Just in the spring portal alone, we had players that were approached legally or illegally and offered $3.3 million that they left on the table to come back to Connecticut. And I think that says a lot about the program, the school, the community, their team, their teammates, and certainly about their character. So that's something we're excited about.
You talk about the portal. How shady can that place be? You talk about it being like speed dating when you're trying to get in there, but how there's some dark, weird stuff going on in there too, isn't there?
Yeah, tampering is rampant. And I've made my statements pretty clear about how I feel about tampering. We don't tamper. And if people do want to tamper with our players and we have legitimate reason to believe that it's happening, then we're going to call them out. Until the NCAA decides that they want to do something about it, then we're going to try to do something about it. It's just, I think you're teaching bad lessons. You're teaching the wrong lessons to the players. Hey, cheating is okay. Well, cheating's not okay, and they're not going to get far in life if they depend on cheating after they leave college. So we want to teach the correct lessons, and we're not perfect, goodness sakes, we make mistakes, but we try to do it right all the time. And these teams that flagrantly break the rules, it's difficult to respect those programs, for me at least.
Kind of the
How hard has it been then to maintain the essence of what you want to teach these guys when you're up against that every day?
Well, we just worry about what we do when we're in this building, the things that we say, the way we act. But we're not afraid to defend ourselves, certainly, But no, for us, it's just trying to be true to what we are all about, what we value. And like I said, getting the right types of young men in this program. And we've been, I believe, fortunate to do that. But, the proof's in the pudding. This is every coach in America standing here today full of enthusiasm and optimism. So we've got to make it happen.
kind of the opposite of tampering, but when guys go in the portal, you're always hyping them up on Twitter and boosting them up. Do other coaches, do you communicate with other coaches when you're recruiting guys?
I do. When I'm recruiting them?
Yeah. Do they help?
Yeah. Now, I think what's happened now is that coaches are more likely to communicate with each other about what players are actually being offered. You're seeing sometimes, and it's not real prominent, but you'll see people that are acting as agents for players, and they're not always truthful about what other teams are offering. So I simply, pick up the phone, and if we're in competition with somebody, call them and say, hey, this is what we're offering them. What are you offering them? And that comes from my NFL background. There was disclosure of information. Agents had to be certified, so everybody knew what they were competing against. And in college, I don't want to compete against ghosts. I want to compete against the truth. So I'm going to call people and ask them what it is. And then with regards to our players that want to leave, listen, I have to live what I preach to these guys. And so it's not all about ball. It's about their future. So if they, are adamant that they want to leave, or maybe we've asked them, maybe, hey, there's a better place for you, then I think it's my responsibility to help them get somewhere where they can have that success that they're after.
Is there an area that you're really excited about, the jump maybe from spring to now, that you're getting geeked up to see, and actually when you're getting ready for the season? For individuals? I know you don't usually like to mention individuals, but is there guys that have taken big jumps?
Yeah, there's guys that appear to have taken big jumps, but we'll see when we get out here on the grass. I'm really excited about the potential of the wide receiver room. Mm-hmm. I think it's deep and it's talented. At least that's my perception at this point in time. We're going to find out and see how they hold up out here. But I think that's a group that could excite people. And I think there's playmakers. We lost some guys, but we added some real talented players.
When you look at the coaches' room and you see a Jackson Mitchell and a Jelani Stafford, does that give you an extra sense of pride to know that they want to get into coaching after being under you and they want to start here?
Yeah, and I want them here. You look at Durante's here. He's in scouting, but he helps in coaching. And you mentioned Jelani and Jackson Mitchell, who's living at my house with me. And then Caleb Anthony is on our staff. My son's on our staff now. Johnny Pagano's son's on our staff now. People that have a football background, but primarily UConn players that want to get started in this business and need a jump start. We're going to do all we can to help them, because in college football, that is so important, in the recruiting rooms, with the parents being able to sit there as an ex-player and tell them exactly what it's like here from their mouths is really important. The pride that they take in doing a great job because they're representing the school that they played for, that's really important. You look around the country and a lot of the successful head coaches are guys that have gone back to their alma mater. It'd be really cool one day, for me, I know from a personal basis standpoint, if one of our ex-players that I was able to coach became the head coach at University of Connecticut. That would be really, really neat. And so you want to give those guys opportunities.
On defense, does it worry you with so many new faces, or does it kind of excite you to?
It excites me. I'm looking behind me and I see Damon there, and I know that Donovan Branch, those guys are returners. They know what to expect. They know what we expect of them. And then I have great confidence in the defensive coaching staff. They're tremendous coaches, and they have a group of players that just soak up everything that they say and apply it to the best of their ability. So I'm excited about it. Yeah, I'm not nervous about it. I got great faith in Coach Brock and those guys and the players.
Jim, do you see any value or anything positive in any of the legislation that's been proposed or the executive order that was issued regarding college sports or college football?
I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. And it's so fluid, it changes so often. I kind of feel like I don't want to get in that emotional game of going back and forth. I don't think there's much that I can do to control it right now. So I think the best thing for me to do is just concentrate on Connecticut football and these players. And there's much smarter people out there that understand it better than me, and let them do their job.
You know,
Thanks, Coach.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one more.
ask one more.
Yeah.
You had to plug in 3 new guys up front in the middle on the offensive line. Now this year, it's the 2 guys on the outside.
Yeah.
Seems like you got a lot of depth able to do that.
Well, we lost some really good men up front, and have gone on. And you got Val, who's in Phoenix, and you got Chase, who's in Buffalo, and you got Noel, who's in Canada. Chris Fortin was the 5th pick of the Canadian League draft, or 5th or 8th. So those are big shoes to fill. But Ben Morawski's coming back healthy, and he's a good player. And we brought in some guys that can help. And one of them is walking by us right there, Tai Chan on the inside, allows us to move guys outside. I think we've got a lot of flexibility and versatility up front. It's just a matter of gelling. But they're coached by Gordy and Coach Pace, and those are couple of pretty good coaches that'll get it right.